Good evening. You're watching Behind the Trend. Short stories, big insights. I'm Melissa. Tonight we're looking at a story that's making headlines across Europe and beyond. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has announced plans to impose a 10% tariff on 8 European countries. His reason? According to him, these nations opposed U.S. control of Greenland. It's a headline that sounds almost surreal. Greenland, tariffs, and a transatlantic rift all rolled into one. But this moment reveals something deeper about the world's changing balance of power and about how global relationships can shift on the edge of pride, policy, and politics. So, let's break it down, calmly, clearly, and in full. Let's start with what actually happened. On Tuesday, Donald Trump, speaking from his Mar-a-Lago residence, said that 8 European nations will face new tariffs on key exports to the U.S. He described the move as, quote, a necessary economic correction after what he called disrespect from European governments that had, in his words, tried to humiliate America by opposing his administration's 2019 proposal to acquire Greenland. The list of affected countries reportedly includes Denmark, Norway, Germany, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Sweden, and Finland. And in Trump's familiar tone, he added, when you disrespect the United States, there are consequences. Now, it's worth noting, this announcement doesn't come from the current U.S. government. Trump, as of now, holds no official position, but his remarks immediately triggered reaction across Europe and renewed debate about how far political rhetoric can shape economic policy, even out of office. Let's pause for a moment and talk about Greenland. For most people, it's an island associated with ice, stunning landscapes, and remote isolation. But politically and strategically, Greenland has been at the center of global competition for decades. Back in 2019, during his presidency, Donald Trump made headlines when he floated the idea of buying Greenland from Denmark, calling it, quote, a large real estate deal. Denmark quickly rejected the idea. The Danish Prime Minister at the time, Mette Frederiksen, called the proposal absurd. Trump responded by canceling his state visit to Copenhagen, calling the Danish leader nasty. That diplomatic chill left a long shadow. Now, years later, Greenland is once again in the spotlight, this time as a symbol of national pride, global competition, and a very personal feud between Trump and his European critics. Here's the question everyone's asking. Can Trump actually do this? Right now, no. He's not president. But the comment matters because it tells us something about his ongoing influence in U.S. politics. Many analysts see this as part of Trump's broader effort to project authority on foreign affairs ahead of another possible election run. He's tapping into the same America First message that fueled his base for years, combining national pride with grievance politics. In his statement, he framed Europe's rejection of the Greenland deal not as a diplomatic difference, but as a betrayal of respect. In other words, this isn't just about trade. It's about ego, identity, and the power to shape the global conversation, even outside official office. So, what would a 10% tariff actually mean? Let's imagine for a moment that such a policy did take shape. For Europe, it would hit industries like automobiles, steel, and agriculture, all key exports to the U.S. For American consumers, it would likely raise prices, and for transatlantic trade, it would reignite tensions we last saw during the 2018 trade war. Back then, tariffs on steel and aluminum strained relations between Washington and Brussels, leading to months of negotiation and retaliatory taxes. Europe doesn't want to go down that road again, not when global inflation, energy prices, and security issues are already testing unity across the continent. Trade experts say this kind of rhetoric is more than symbolic. Dr. Elaine Winters, a senior analyst at the European Policy Institute, told CNN earlier today, quote, even when Trump isn't in office, his words ripple through global markets. Investors listen, governments listen, because they know that if he returns to power, these ideas could become policy. And that's the key point. Trump's comments might not have immediate economic consequences, but they reshape expectations. Markets, as we know, don't just respond to facts. They respond to feelings, fear, confidence, or uncertainty. All right, let's take a step back and ask, why Greenland? Why now? The answer lies in something bigger than territory. Greenland sits between North America and Europe, a strategic Arctic gateway, rich in natural resources and increasingly important as melting ice opens new shipping routes. The U.S. has maintained a military base in Thule, Greenland for decades, part of the North American Defense Network. China has also shown interest in Greenland's rare earth minerals. So, from a geopolitical standpoint, Greenland isn't just an icy island, it's a chessboard, and every major power wants a seat at the table. That's why Trump's old Greenland purchase proposal, strange as it sounded, wasn't entirely random. It reflected a growing race for Arctic influence, one that continues today. Since 2020, the U.S. has quietly increased diplomatic and military cooperation with Greenland and Denmark. Washington even opened a consulate in Nuuk for the first time in decades. So when Trump invokes Greenland again, it taps into this ongoing strategic interest, but filters it through a political lens, one that mixes serious policy with personal symbolism. It's part of a pattern, transforming complex global issues into moments of domestic performance. Europe, meanwhile, is trying to stay measured. Officials in Denmark responded cautiously, saying they do not engage with private citizens on matters of U.S. trade policy. But behind closed doors, diplomats have expressed frustration. A senior EU official told The Guardian, quote, "We are trying to rebuild trust with Washington. Statements like this make that work harder." And that's understandable. Europe still remembers how fragile transatlantic relations became under Trump, and how quickly trust can fracture when politics turns personal. Back in the U.S., the reaction is mixed. Republicans close to Trump have praised his tough talk, saying it reminds the world that America won't be taken advantage of. Democrats, on the other hand, warn that such comments undermine alliances that took decades to build. Economist Charles Lee at the Brookings Institution put it simply, "Tariffs sound like strength, but they're really taxes on your own people. They raise costs at home and complicate diplomacy abroad." It's a reminder that global power doesn't just rest on assertiveness, it depends on stability and cooperation. You know, when you step back, this story isn't really about tariffs or Greenland. It's about what power means in the 21st century and how political influence can stretch far beyond formal office. Donald Trump, even as a private citizen, continues to command attention, shaping debates, testing boundaries, and reminding the world that in politics, perception can be as powerful as policy. Europe's challenge now is how to respond, not with outrage, but with strategy, because rebuilding trust means staying calm when the world around you gets loud. So, what happens next? For now, no tariffs are actually in place, but the conversation they sparked about pride, trade, and the politics of power is very real. It's a story that shows how one statement can echo through economies, boardrooms, and diplomatic halls across the world. As always, we'll keep watching, asking questions, and following the ripple effects, because sometimes the biggest stories start with a single sentence. You've been watching Behind the Trend. Short stories, big insights. I'm Melissa. Thank you for spending time with us. Stay curious, stay informed, and take care.